This podcast is made possible with help from our business community partners, including Tani Wouters and Mary Shields from Homes for Heroes, David Ord from Nemesis Pest Control, Brandon Mak from Maximum Security, David Stepp from Rogue Camera Guys, and James Monroe from Oregon Pacific Financial Consultants. Rogue Retreat would also like to thank their community partners, Southern Oregon Goodwill, St. Vincent de Paul, the Medford Gospel Mission, Costco, Southern Oregon Tree Care, Bartlett Tree Service, Medford Parks Department, Medford Police Department's Livability Team, the City of Medford, Jackson County, and their individual donors. Thank you so much. Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Ryan Mallory.
I'm Jared Bannery.
And I'm Addison Mallory.
Hey, today we have Liz Adams and Justin Hon. Liz is the operations director at the urban camp operated by Rogue Retreat, and Justin is the camp manager, and we wanted to learn more about this camp because we've heard a lot about its successes. Liz, welcome. Would you like to go first?
Sure.
All right.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about what got you involved in this, because it's an unusual career, but probably an up-and-coming career across the United States, honestly.
So my story kind of begins. I actually worked for the Housing Authority for 20-some years.
Oh.
One day I found myself out of a job and called Chad at Rogue Retreat.
Yeah.
And he offered me a job that same day.
Excellent.
And so I went to work there. I brought a lot of property management experience to the table, laws, landlord-tenant laws, to kind of help them grow up a little bit.
Right.
And in a short time, I was promoted to program director. And from there, I changed over to operations director, and now I kind of oversee everything that Rogue Retreat does, including overseeing all of the different programs, projects that we do.
Multiple locations, not just the camp that we know about, big fenced, very well organized, well operated camp that gets people out of the most disparaging part of living on the street and on the Bear Creek Trail and those kind of stuff. But there are other properties there too, right?
Oh yeah. So we have the urban campground, then we have the Kelly Shelter, 64-bed year-round shelter. Hope Village is our 34 tiny house village. From there, we have 5 men's and women's recovery houses, and then we have 44 apartments. We just added the Redwood Inn that we are currently remodeling, and those will be 47 studio apartments. We actually have a lot of other projects. We're getting ready to open a shelter in Grants Pass, Foundry Village in Grants Pass, which is another tiny house village. We have another tiny house village that's in the works for a partnership with the Ark. And we're also going to be opening a campground in Ashland probably on June 1st.
Very cool.
So lots going on right now.
Are those each, they're different styles of living straight off the street into a campground? And is it a scale-up thing where if somebody does well in the camp, they might get to move into another location, maybe the Kelly Shelter, and if they do well there, they might be able to get into a tiny house or an apartment someplace?
Yeah, and that's exactly what we do. They can start at the campground, transition to the shelter, from there go to Hope Village, maybe one of the recovery houses, depending on where they're at with their sobriety. And then from there, they can move into an apartment. The Redwood Inn will be another stair step in that progression. And then we just try to help them find more permanent housing out in the community.
We're a big advocates of a hand up.
Yes.
And that sounds like a hand up for folks that are willing to put in the effort and try to get in a better state of mind if it's mental health stuff, addiction stuff.
Yeah, they have to participate in their own life.
Absolutely.
And I tell them, I'm not going to work harder at your life than you do.
Yeah,
so
that's
we're here to help you. But if you don't want the help, then there's somebody right behind you that does.
But if somebody doesn't have the skills to seek mental health help, or doesn't have the skills to recover themselves or go find the programs themselves, I kind of feel like sometimes people end up in a situation where they're living on the streets and they need guides. They need somebody to show them the ropes. They're not sure what to do any more than if you dumped me out there, I probably wouldn't know how to fend for myself very well that first night. the reverse coming back. They need some help with figuring out how to fend for themselves and get ahead. Yeah.
Right. That's why we have case managers and peer support.
Wow.
To kind of help them navigate through those. I mean, it's difficult for some of us to navigate through the systems out there.
It's getting to be tax time. Nobody can navigate it.
So yeah, we connect them with services. We bring services into our facilities, like at the campground. We have a lot of wonderful community partners. We wouldn't be there if it wasn't for them.
You guys are employers too. How many people does Rogue Retreat employ, you think?
Today, I think we're about at 70.
Wow.
There were 7 of us when I started in 2015.
So it's helping people to get jobs and helping them help other people. It's a domino effect for sure.
Yeah, and a lot of our employees have actually been through our program.
That's excellent too.
And that's the part that I love the most, is watching them rise up and just become...
Catch on fire for helping people. They're super excited about it by then, I would imagine.
Yeah, our shelter manager right now, she was in our program a few years ago, and she has just risen up through the ranks, and now she's managing the Kelly shelter.
Very cool. So before we get too far into the nuts and bolts, Justin, I wanted to hear a little bit about your background. I know you personally, and I know about your background. You've shared some testimony with me and things like that, but I'd like you to tell folks a little bit about how you ended up there and your background and those kind of things. You're a great speaker.
So my name is Justin Hon. I am the campground manager for Rogue Retreat. So for me, my background is addiction. So I'm an addict, and for many years I did a lot of chaos and damage to our community here. And so I wanted to do something different when I got clean. And so when I got clean, I needed somewhere to put my energy in, and so originally, I started volunteering at Set Free, and helping with food boxes and helping with those things. And then I got hired at a gas station, but I always was recovery oriented, helping people in the community get into recovery services. And that was always my goal, was to help my fellow man or woman, find their niche. There's different pathways to recovery. So for me, I immersed myself in all kinds of trainings and different dialogues of pathways to recovery to support each individual, because everybody's different and unique in their own way. And everybody's pathway to recovery is going to be different, and so I just started immersing myself in these trainings, and I got a job at Family Nurturing Center, and I worked there for about 4 years, primarily with child welfare contracts, working with parents to get them reunified. And that job really took a toll on me, because you don't realize how much damage those types of situations do to the families, the kids, and it really weighed heavy on my heart. And then I heard about Rogue Retreat, and so I gave Chad a call, and he told me to submit a resume and stuff, and so I did, and then I was hired on, a year and a half ago, 16 months ago?
About that, yeah.
Yeah, and so I started as a guest host, working graveyards, and I was always wanting to help people, and I have a plethora of resources, so I just immersed myself in resources. That was my big thing. I was like a resource broker, basically. So
you showed me a list one time when I was trying to help somebody that was addicted, and it was a list of employers in the area that will hire somebody that has a record, which is a big deal. It's hard to find a job once you put yourself through certain things in life, and that was a gift to the guy that I gave it to. He was on fire looking for a job.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing, is we have a plethora of resources here in our community to help people when they're willing and ready. So for me, that's my niche. I love helping people. I love watching people flourish and grow, and get clean and get their family back, or get reunified with their family, or just build that community connection. It's very awesome to watch that. So
yeah, to see it firsthand as people get further and further and further and get some resemblance of a life back, and feel good about themselves again, and feel proud of what they're doing. Man, I can't imagine being that closely in touch with it. I'd be teared up every day.
I am.
Yeah,
Definitely.
right? Mm-hmm. Super touching to watch people pick themselves up out of the dirt and make it happen.
Well, you talk about, a change. You went from being the chased to now law enforcement, and people are coming to you for help.
Yeah. It's definitely an honor and a privilege to be able to work alongside the Livability Team.
Yeah.
When I was running and doing my thing, a few of them actually used to chase me down and, and cuff me and stuff me. And, the experience I get to experience with them now is totally different. It's definitely eye-opening for me to be able to work alongside these guys and get the support and the love that I get from them,
Yeah.
I never got to experience before because
Sure.
I was so closed-minded, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I was just narrow-minded on the drugs, and now that I've broadened my horizons and started giving back to my community, I'm looked at as a resource, and it's definitely humbling.
You're a mentor for a lot of people. It's a good thing, and we got to interview Sergeant Kirkpatrick and Officer Wolf from the Livability Team on this show and learn about what they do, and they regularly talked about. I think we mentioned you being a recovery legend on that show, but we got to learn how they interact, and they mentioned Rogue Retreat several times because that's. I used to do the scanner group thing and think no place for these people to go when I'd hear them come across a scanner. Yeah, they might be out there and they might be causing a problem, but there's no jail space for them to detox. There's no place for them to go. And now that's a little bit different, and I see things getting better, and I see a lot of people that were in addiction that I know that are now like studying to be counselors. It's like they're excited about it, and I think we're going to see over the next 2 years an incredible change in this area. Excited to kind of talk to you guys and learn more about it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going in an excellent trajectory. Our law enforcement that we have currently is just amazing. It's a whole new experience to actually see them engage with individuals and offer them services. Hey, Rogue Retreat has beds available. The ARC's here with us. We have options with us. And we bring the resources to them. So every Friday we go out and we do outreach with either the Livability Team or Bob McCurley, sometimes the Sheriff's Department, and we'll go out and we'll offer services to people, and meet them where they're at.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll take the opportunity to utilize the services, and sometimes they won't. But we give them that option. And the most important thing is we're meeting them where they're at, and MPD will be there to do like the introduction and offer the services, and then they'll step back. It's not like they're up there in their face or anything like that. They want these individuals to engage with the service providers and the entities that are there to try and offer them support, and it's a very awesome experience to watch that, so.
I think, and they're, you may offer it to them 20 times, but you're looking for that point where the lines cross, where they're not feeling great about life and they're feeling like they might be wanting to make a change, and that's the day somebody shows up. That's the big win right there.
Yeah, actually, that just happened. So one of the livability officers went to one of the campsites, and this individual, he seen him, and he took off, and he swan dived into Bear Creek and into the most shallowest part of the creek and landed in a bunch of piles of sticks and got away. And so this individual showed up at the campground, about a week ago, and he's like, I want in, I'm ready, I'm done. And I'm like, we got a site for you, and
crowd goes wild.
So today that officer got to see him and was astonished that he actually stayed, and he wants to change his life. He's tired of doing the same old thing day in and day out. He wants to become a productive member of society, and stop being a burden to his community, he told me.
Yeah.
He's like, I want to do something different, and the only way I'm going to do something different is by being accountable.
It's got to feel like Groundhog Day. Maybe you got some cash somehow. Maybe you stole something. You hawk it, you trade it, whatever. You end up with some. You take the stuff. By the time it's gone and the good part of the high wears off, and the crash part of the high is there, it's time to go find more, and a constant roller coaster where I think when they show up in camp, days start being different. It's not always about chasing that down.
Yeah. I noticed with a lot of our female guests that usually when we do an intake with them for the first couple days, they will sleep all day,
They
because
feel safe.
that's what they're used to.
Yeah.
And then they'll be up all night, so then they'll have to change their whole sleep pattern once they start getting comfortable and relaxed enough, because they can trust that they're going to be safe there, and that's a whole nother experience. You get to watch that transpire, the individuals there, just watch them grow, and feel that safety and that security, because they know that nothing's going to happen to them while they're there. So it's
In the camp, you have like 63 residences or 63 tents, pallet tents, that kind of stuff, I think, right now.
So
Seem about right?
we have 25 pallet houses, and then we have 50 tent sites. So we just expanded to 75.
Oh, nice. And a pallet house, so people understand.
So it's almost,
It's a tiny little house.
Oh, neat.
it's similar to, it's a super thick dry erase board, I guess it was be the easiest way to explain it.
Yeah, insulated.
With an aluminum frame,
Okay.
with like a almost wood plastic floor, and then it has a bed that flops down on one side and another bed that pops down on the other, and then it has 4 windows. It has heater panel in it, a breaker, it has electrical outlets, lighting, but at this time we don't have any electricity at that facility.
Yeah.
So that's what we're working towards.
It feels maybe a little bit more like the ice fishing houses that people in Minnesota drag out on the ice and stay in, and they're pretty darn comfortable, really.
Yeah.
There's a company out of Washington that makes these,
Okay.
and we caught wind of them and reached out, and they wound up donating the first 10 to our campground. And once we got them there, people started donating money to purchase more, and now
That's
we're
wonderful.
up to 25 right now.
Yeah.
So when we talk about women feeling safe there and finally getting to sleep through the night and those kind of things, I've heard stories through Scanner Group, women that are living on the street contacting me, and I try to point them to the right places. But I've had more than one woman tell me that if you're sleeping on the trail, you're likely going to get raped, and not just once, but probably weekly, every couple of weeks, something like that. And people are going to take all your stuff. And I've heard one woman said, "Oh, sometimes some of us call it rape trail," which just horrifies me. And then also I've heard stories that if you're over a certain age or a little bit disabled or something like that, people are going to take advantage of you on the trail. They're going to take your shoes. They're going to take your stuff while you're sleeping. You might get slapped around a little bit if you have anything to say about it. It feels like the Bear Creek Trail has come a place that's not just, the public all knows they don't want to go on the trail anymore. It's not safe for their kids. It's not safe for them. Well, that's a whole different story. What we're talking about here is it's maybe not safe for the people that are homeless, and we want to get them out of there so that they're not completely victimized and re-victimized. Maybe they have mental health issues. Maybe they have drug problems. Maybe they have things that are caused themselves, but that's not what they were looking for. And when they're victimized and re-victimized, it's pretty hard to pull back out of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard for those individuals to find that sense of safety and security.
Yeah.
I see it time and time again. Our elderly population getting victimized, and getting beat up and robbed because they're easy targets, and they know that the likelihood of one of these elderly individuals having a social security check or a bank card or cash on them is probably high, so, and they're easy targets, and it's sad. I see it day in and day out, of our elderly people on the Greenway, or you could just see the black eyes and, beat up.
And I would bet most of those crimes, including the rapes, go unreported. So a lot of folks that end up in the camp or some of the other retreat facilities, they're delivered by Medford Livability Team or referred in some way. Is that how it works?
That's primarily for the campground.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So all of the other pieces of Rogue Retreat are through the main office, through the application process. So they will do, say for the shelter, for example, they'll go to the main office and do the application for the shelter, get on the wait list, and then once availability or a bed comes up, they'll be called. And if they have, hopefully they have a working number.
Right.
Because that's always another thing too, back to the Greenway, is their phones get stolen.
Yeah.
And previously you talked about the women on the Greenway, and those situations are the hardest, right? You see, say she's 22, 23, out there living on the Greenway by herself, and her whole tent is surrounded by weapons of some sort or fashion, whether it's sharpened sticks or knives, and she's got them taped up in her tent. And so I asked her one day, I was like, "Why do you got all those?" And she's like, "Have you ever slept out here at night?" I was like, "It's a valid point."
Yeah.
So it's definitely scary to think that that's somebody's daughter or niece or
and
grandchild.
it goes unreported if they're using. The last thing they want to do is talk to the police about it, and identifying somebody, and everybody's using street names. It's just hard to track people down and those kind of things. So getting them out of there, off the trail, and into some kind of living situation like that, not everybody's willing. Let's talk about that. So Medford police may deal with them, and they may want to refer them, but they're not willing to go because it's not you guys aren't kicking people out for random reasons or anything like that. If they show up and they've taken drugs, that's not a problem. They can still sleep safely, but they can't be using drugs in camp and that kind of stuff. They can't trigger people that are trying to get clean, for sure. So some folks don't want to.
Yeah, exactly. So we have some simple rules, and so it's no theft, no fires, no persistent disruptive behavior, no alcohol and drugs on the property, and no weapons. Very simple.
Yeah.
You can actively use and stay at the campground. You just can't actively use on the property, right? Or bring it on the property with you.
Yeah.
And so, some people have tried that. And so when they get caught with, say, a bottle of booze or whatever, I'll give them the opportunity. There's option A or option B. I'd rather you go to treatment than lose your spot here.
Yeah.
And so I think 10 times they've chose the treatment, and quite a few of them we actually got to detox, and we've been utilizing the one in Eugene.
Okay.
Because it's much harder here to get anybody in treatment because there's such a long waiting list for any of the residentials or detoxes. But Eugene, I don't know what it is, but they're fast.
A few years ago, I called. I was looking for detox bed for somebody that was ready to go then, and everybody's ready to go when they make the decision, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen that day. So try to build them up and say that, hey, this is a lifelong decision, and if it takes 2 weeks or it takes a month, that should still be the same decision for you. But I called 32 places on a weekday, 32 places, and I don't remember the name of the place, but it was in Eugene that finally said, have them call, send them on down.
Yeah.
That's the tiny house village that I was mentioning earlier, partnership with the ARC.
Uh-huh.
That's kind of the premise behind that.
Okay.
Because when you have somebody that's ready to make some changes right now, you got to catch them right now.
Yeah.
If there's a 2-week waiting list for a bed or a month, you're not going to catch them again. You want to help them now. And so these tiny houses will be designed to put them so that it'll be built on the ARC's property.
Yeah.
So we can get them into a bed. There may not be inpatient beds, but there will be tiny houses on the property where they can instantly start engaging in outpatient services.
Start detoxing, start talking to a counselor, those kind of things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you guys sometimes have people that are detoxing in camp? It's a pretty hard thing to go through.
Yeah. I've seen people go through the whole medical detox at the hospital, and them get out and start drinking again. Oh. And then, so it's not the end of the road for them, and I have those conversations with them, and, I reopen up that door for them to engage with services, and one individual, he's been doing this for 40 years here in our community, and I just talked to him today, and I was like, have you thought about detox? He's like, if you get it set up, I'll go, and I said, okay. And so before I left work, they were setting that up with him, So, every day is a new day, and you can't let what happened yesterday, haunt you. You got to keep pushing forward to help each one of these individuals on an individual basis.
Yeah.
So
it's not always going to be the right day for them, but when the right day rolls around, if you're prepared to help them with that, it could completely change a life.
Yeah. For me, I love planting the seed. Hey, have you thought about treatment today?
Yep.
Yep.
I
It's
followed a guy
subtle.
for months, and I would ask him, "So you ready yet?" Nope. Okay. And I'd see him again about a week later. "So you ready?" Nope. We played that game for probably 6 months.
Uh-huh.
And one day he walked through our front door.
He came to you
He
by
came
that
to
time.
us.
Yeah.
And I almost cried right then.
Yeah,
and it's like,
goosebumps. I
oh
got
my
'em right
gosh,
now.
he is ready. And so, yeah, we have great stories like that.
Yeah, I mean, even if they don't come to the campground, I still have been utilized from residents on the Greenway. You know, they'll email me, "Hey, I want to get clean, but I don't want to come to the campground. But can you help me with a resource? You know, or can you help me get a job?"
Heck yeah.
You know, and that's happened 4 or 5 times. You know, just people that I've given my business card to.
Yeah.
They'll shoot me an email, and you know, because having a phone service, it's not likely, you know, for some of them, but they are able to utilize Wi-Fi and send an email or use one of those Wi-Fi phone
The
lines.
few people that I've tried to help, I was waiting for them to swing by McDonald's to use the Wi-Fi, or you know, they're just getting in touch with me in different ways than normal.
Yeah, or they're going to the library and renting one of the hotspots, so that way, you know, they can do job search or whatever, you know. So,
And does that become a problem? I mean, anybody can create an email address. Don't necessarily have to have a physical address to get a job, but if somebody in one of Rogue Retreat's facilities finds a job, are they mailable there? Do they all of a sudden have an address that they can get mail at?
So one of the things that we do for not just the folks in our campground and shelter and whatnot, but anyone that is homeless out on the streets, they can use our address as a mailing address.
Perfect.
We have a system set up at our front desk where the mailman knows everything comes to us. We sort it out. If they're at the campground, it goes in his box. If they're at the shelter, it goes in Shannon's. And so they get their mail, and people come in every day and check their mail just to make sure, because we're getting birth certificates for them too, and those are coming
what
to
I was going to
us.
say. They got to pick up their forms. They lost all that while they were living out yonder, and you know, it's hard to function without a mailing address.
Right.
You can function. You might be able to survive camping and stuff like that, but it's hard to find a job. It's hard to get the paperwork you need to get medical health and those kind of things. Get on the Oregon Health Plan. Any of that. You're going to have an address to mail it to, or you don't exist, which is a hard thing. I feel bad about that people don't exist if they don't have an address. They don't exist to your government. They don't exist to a lot of nonprofits even, unless they can mark down an address. So you let them do that. That makes a huge difference, I bet.
Yeah.
yep.
What's your guys' opinion? It's a big buzz right now, and obviously I've been working with a group of citizens that does not want camping on Bear Creek Greenway, and I've talked to all of them, and they don't want it because they're mean. They don't want it because they hate people. It's not that. It's generally they give one of two reasons. It's no longer safe, and I used to take my kids there, and they want the resource back, or it's not helping them to leave them out there on the trail. And I feel like both of those really, if they're left out on the trail, they're not going anywhere. They're on that Groundhog Day experience where there may be people that bring them food, and there may be people that do certain things for them. Here's a blanket, but none of it really aids towards them getting out of that situation. And I feel like what you guys do aids towards, like, how do you guys feel about the trail?
So for me, the biggest concern I have is the fire risk.
Yeah.
That's why our campground was started in the first place. We were coming up on summer, fire season. They wanted to try to help mitigate some of that risk. And so that's why we originally started it. And then it's just kind of grown from there. But we had a horrible year last year.
It was rough.
And we don't want to see that happen again.
Block and a half from my house, and Addison was living with me at the time, and walking around, taking pictures, directing traffic and stuff like that. And then during that, while Jared was working, you work in Central Point, and all of a sudden you're out of your job and directing traffic so people can evacuate in Central Point.
the fires came right down back behind my business, and had to run out and start stopping traffic because it was coming up over the Table Rock overpass, and it was nuts. Yeah. I mean, it definitely was.
I live in Central Point, and our neighborhood was evacuated twice.
Yeah.
I didn't go, but only because I was in contact with these guys at the campground, and the fire marshal was there and letting us know that we were going to be okay, that they had that end of the fire. But if you look at the fire path and all along the
Right
Greenway,
down the Greenway.
that's exactly it.
It's trees and brush, and I've often thought, and I've floated this idea to people. It takes a while to build more camps. You guys are working on it. You guys want more. You guys want to serve more people, help more people. It takes a while to get all that, and I don't know how many people are out there either. But eventually, we reach some efficiencies of scale where anybody that currently wants help has found a bed because there's enough of them now. Mm-hmm. And anybody that doesn't want help is out there on the trail. And then, like I supported building a new jail. The public wasn't ready for a jail district or didn't want a jail district. Maybe they're ready for something smaller, maybe a bond that gets 100 beds. Okay, now you get 100 people that are not willing, or maybe are just like they have a criminal nature that they're not willing to give up. All of a sudden, the trail starts getting safer. The other idea floated was our government. People are always going to illegal camp. We're not going to get rid of that. Let's be serious about that. Our governor has told OSP and ODOT to stand down on state property. I-5 corridor is state property. Between the fences is state property, and we're starting to see a lot more tents, a lot more camps show up on. I feel like that's safer because I've lived here for more than 30 years, and I lived just over the border on the I-5 corridor in Siskiyou County before that. And what I see is every year, and for as long as I've been alive and I-5 has existed, little grass fires on I-5, but there aren't all these big trees and bushes and other things to create a, what do they call it, a mega fire. When it starts burning and there is no putting it out because it's just feeding itself constantly. Feels like if people are going to illegally camp, hustle them out to where they can't be removed anyway, and it's out in the open. So I don't know, maybe less rape and those kind of horrible things, and less potential for the fire to burn down a lot of neighborhoods when it's in that big open space. But I think what you guys do is it's the answer.
Yeah.
Well, I have a quick question though. We deal with a lot of these vegetation fires on the page. And if we say Bear Creek Greenway, then it turns into this mega pain in the rear end thread that everybody is, trying to figure out what they can do, and they're on the homeless, and it's the homeless fault, and so on and so forth. So we have kind of like two groups that have kind of formed. We've got the people that want to clear the Greenway. They want to clear the Greenway, and then you got some of these small radical groups that call them houseless, and they're fighting for their rights to keep the filth on the Greenway. And what can a normal citizen do? What can they do to assist in cleaning the Greenway? And I mean, if they want to donate, if they want to, because I'm getting to the point where I'm going to start calling these people out and saying, instead of coming on and just complaining, do something.
Come with a solution.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of complaining, but I don't hear anybody coming with a solution.
I used to do that when I was in the corporate world before I retired. People would come see me, and I would say, like, bring your complaints, but give me a couple of ideas for solutions for each of them. If you can't do that yet, you can still tell me about it, but I feel like you haven't thought about it enough. And if you're going to think about it a little bit more and bring me a couple of solutions, they don't have to work, but at least you put some thought into it. I know you really care about the issue rather than just complaining.
Right.
I think that if they were to organize a cleanup with the city's approval or something like that, I volunteered and I did a couple of days of cleanup underneath some of the bridges and stuff. And I think we pulled out, a 40-yard dumpster underneath one bridge.
Fill them up.
And 5-gallon bucket full of syringes underneath one bridge. The Garfield Bridge down there.
Yeah.
And that was really crazy, of the stuff that accumulated underneath there. I think there was
I checked into that, and
35 propane tanks.
There's a cleanup coming up in April. And there's regular cleanups, definitely. And I always recommend people go to the city of Medford or definitely the county and find out when those are, because there's certain liabilities and there's certain safety issues. Like, I'm not going to run out there with a pair of gloves on and start cleaning up all the needles. I don't know enough about that. And the other thing is they provide the right resources for people to clean, and they put them in the right place. There's lots of, toxic human waste and those kind of things. And when people are using, they're probably not great about hygiene, and want E. coli and all the different things you can. The county does a good job at organizing those so that the citizens that want to volunteer stay safe. But I'm thinking a great way to help seems like it would be to donate to Rogue Retreat. You guys are a nonprofit, right? 501c3?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, and when people donate to Rogue Retreat, I would imagine it goes to paying those 70 employees, getting more tents, working over a new piece of property, that kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so personally, I just feel like this is a good solution because it does really give people a hand up. It's not just a handout. It's not just here you are on the Greenway, have some stuff. It's let's get your life in order. Let us introduce you to some people or some programs or those kind of things. And I think they feel the care, and that's why a lot of people continue to stay and maybe move up to the next level. Yeah, they tell you guys they love you, right?
Oh.
It's got to be better than being on the trail.
Some of them do.
Yeah, really.
Well, there was one that didn't like me right out of the gate, and she called me every name she could think of. But I just kept at it. And
Yeah.
every time, and each time, a little bit more of a conversation. And now when I walk in, she comes over and gives me a hug.
She trusts you now.
Yes.
That's what it is. And you can imagine being constantly ripped off and taken advantage of and all the different things that happen in that world. Imagine, Justin, you have, it's been a long time now, but you have experience in that world. Eventually you stop trusting everybody when you're playing that game, huh?
Yep.
Like even your own family, even your own friends, nobody's trustworthy in that game.
Yeah. And, for me at the end, I didn't even trust myself.
Yeah.
I knew enough was enough, and I couldn't find a solution, and it just so happened 3 days later, multiple agencies saved my life, and
I hear you.
And it was Officer Biddle from the Sheriff's Department. He gave me that coming to Jesus conversation. He is retired since this point, but the last couple of years I've been trying to connect with him, man, and just tell him thank you that he saved my life, and
Yeah.
and Jacksonville PD and the DHS, they were all there, and because I couldn't do it myself, and so
What anniversary did you just celebrate?
on the 9th I just picked up 9 years.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Well, I want to commend you on paying it forward,
I tell you.
because not a lot of people can sit here and say that I came to you for help, because I have a loved one that is suffering from alcoholism. And when we finally realized he was ready, you're the first name that came to my head. I got to get a hold of Justin.
Thanks.
And I text you, and he's his second week in rehab, and
Awesome.
doing outstanding. So I personally want to thank you for your service to the community, and you've paid back your debt, and now everything is just blessings from heaven.
Yeah, it's all great now.
So
Thank you.
So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
The about the time somebody is getting help from Rogue Retreat, and then they move on and they move up and they find a better place, get a job, those kind of things. They often, I've talked to a lot of people that are recovered, whether it was through Rogue Retreat or otherwise, and they always remember that officer that had an impact on them. And I feel like that's what the Medford Livability Team is. I talk to those guys, and they care so much about the people. They get to know them. And they get to know them through multiple, not just arrests or those kind of things, but multiple encounters where they needed to be calmed down a little bit, or there's some kind of complaint and they can get it to go away without it being an arrest. And they get to know them a little bit over time and start trusting those officers. And I feel like that's a great window to grab somebody and hustle them out to the camp or get them a referral to some place where they can get some help. Do you hear a lot of stories about the Medford Livability Team? I guess I'm just wondering, how do the homeless people, you work with probably more homeless people than anybody I'm going to get to be able to talk to. How do the homeless people feel about the Livability Team?
So I can speak to that, or you can?
You can. You
Okay.
have more. on the ground experience with that.
Okay. So what I hear is there's one officer that truly goes above others and that they truly love. Primarily, it's Officer Twist. That dude is amazing. But then you have, I don't want to discredit any of the livability team. They are all amazing. All of MPD is amazing. Wolf, he's phenomenal. I love that guy.
He's great.
RJ, that I got a lot of love for him. I have history with him, so you get to work with him on this level. Jeff Kirkpatrick, he's amazing. Randy Jewell, super amazing. And then Pickens. So every one of the livability team has their niche and how they communicate with each individual. So each individual you got to communicate with differently, and they all have their own piece to the pie.
Their own style, right?
Yeah. So what works for one person isn't going to work for the next. So if it doesn't work with one of the livability officers, they have another counterpart to support that individual, and that's what's great about that team.
Yeah.
Is always one of the team members is able to communicate with the individual in one form or fashion. So
That's true in business, and my corporate jobs before I retired, I was always like the last place a complaint could land, the top manager of that business. And what I would find is there would be phone technicians, usually helping people with internet and phone service at a phone company. There's a technician that's, man, he's just a rock star, gets through a lot of calls, everybody's happy with him. And then there's that one customer where their personalities don't click. And literally having a manager trade to a different personality that's on the phone floor, they might not have clicked with the manager, they might not have clicked with me, but they clicked with that kid that I brought in from college that needed to do his homework and do graveyard shifts for me or whatever that is. And they do it in car sales. It's the flip. You walked in, you didn't really like your sales rep, you guys didn't hit it off. Just a second, I got to go talk to my manager, and a different guy comes out because you're not in the mood to buy from that guy, and it was obvious. And I imagine if you're selling recovery and a better life, not everybody's willing to buy from the same guy. So trading personalities, and I feel like our law enforcement gets bashed a lot. And that's one of the reasons we have this show, is that we wanted to introduce the public to our first responders, all of them, not just police officers. I feel like they get bashed a lot, and people don't get to hear the down in the dirt story. The majority of people in the camp were brought there by the Medford Livability Team or referred there by the Medford Livability Team. True or false?
true.
Yeah.
So
It's the only way
we
for
talk
them
about
to get in there.
75 people getting help. It's because the Medford Livability Team wanted to make sure they got help.
Yeah, in
Well,
fact, they
that's
have to get a
75.
referral, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's 75 sites now, but altogether total, we've been able to help 400.
Jeez.
Since
So
we opened July 27th.
yeah,
No
and
kidding.
and I think 138.
Some have cycled
140.
out there up to better things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
138 to 140 have transitioned forward to other programs or treatment providers, or engaged in VA services or access services, or gotten their own long-term housing, been reunified, gone to the mission, the shelter. So a lot of those pieces people don't get to see. They don't get to see the successes once they transition forward, So, but back to the law enforcement piece, I find it very discouraging when we have the men and women of law enforcement that every day they put their lives on the line to protect us. If your house is on fire, guess who the first person is to save your kid or your dog?
Yep.
Fire department or police department. If there's an active shooter, guess who's the first on the scene to go in there and catch that bullet to protect you? And I find it very discouraging to see that. I was a former consumer and felon, and I had to wear those bracelets on numerous occasions. And I support what we have here locally, law enforcement wise, from the sheriff's department to MPD. They're out there trying to make a change, make a difference, and support our community in the growth that it's experiencing. So
Yeah, frankly, I find it actually quite aggravating that people are treating them in such a manner when they're out here just trying to help as best they can.
I have an experience more like yours. It might surprise people, but at 18 years old, I was arrested once in my life, and I didn't stay the night in jail. I got bailed out. It was in Siskiyou County, California, and it was for throwing a huge party. I was underage. Everybody was drinking, and that was my fault, and there was other things involved in that. But the officer that arrested me, to this day, I care about him. He really cared about me. He had some serious talks on me on the drive in to the Siskiyou County jail, and those stuck with me. And stand back wherever you are out there. Love you, brother.
So there's been times that we will have a difficult person in our lobby. Sometimes it's almost daily. They come in, they are maybe still intoxicated or upset because we have a waiting list and they can't get help right here, right now. We will just make a quick phone call, and one of those livability officers will be in our lobby within probably 5 minutes.
Yeah.
They have just been amazing and supportive of us and protect our staff. They'll walk somebody off the entire property.
So every once in a while, we get messages sent, parents that have a child that is on the street or dealing with addiction.
So much.
And they're basically, what do I do? Where do I go? Is Rogue Retreat something, an organization that we can refer them to, or, I mean, how would that work? How would a parent?
So we aren't an addiction services agency. We are primarily for the housing piece.
Okay.
We can support individuals throughout that. If they're over 18, they could utilize the campground, through a referral basis, and we're able to support them getting a baseline there, or they can apply for the shelter, and we can support them getting into service through there, but we aren't a treatment provider. Okay. There are addictions agencies here in our community that are able to support them. You have Colpia, you have ARC, you have On Track, you have Reclaiming Lives,
Foundations for Recovery.
Foundations for Recovery.
We have a lot of resources in that realm here, and and it seems as though this definitely needs to be a community-wide collaboration. Everything from police to the citizens supporting it with, yes, dollar bills, but also supporting the organizations so that you can do your work and make that kind of impact. This can no longer be a political argument. It gets in the way of success. So conservative, liberal, I don't care about any of that. Can we help people? Can we find the people that want to make a change in their lives? And can we get them headed the right direction through the organizations like Rogue Retreat and others that are out there that help with addiction? You guys are the housing and therefore around them the most. So you are the collectors of the programs that you can refer them to, I would imagine.
Yeah. So I want to go back to what Jared said, having parents call us. I think you guys had a situation a few months ago where there was a parent kind of desperate to know where their kid was at and if they were even safe. Yeah. Not that they were seeking services, but they were just trying to find.
It happens a lot. It's sad.
And so I think I sent one of you a private message just because as soon as I saw the name, I recognized the name and I knew that person was safe.
Yes, thank you.
And so we were able to connect them with their child.
Yeah.
And I'm a mom. I have kids. I have one that has been kind of in the same position a few times in his life. I went 2 years with not knowing whether he was dead or alive.
Yeah.
So I get it. We do have to protect privacy, so there's a confidentiality piece tied to that.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
But as parents, we get it, and so we're going to figure out a way to at least alleviate some of those fears of the unknown.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've had parents call us from Virginia to have us check on their kiddo.
See if you've seen their kid, right?
Yeah, and it's.
I catch a lot of those. I catch a lot of. We started a group with a lady that's in recovery for a while. That's families of addicts, and we put them in there when they contact us so that they can realize that they're not alone. Because when they first contact me, they don't realize how many people are in that situation with a loved one.
Yeah.
And having other people around them, a kind of a peer support group online, helps them feel a little bit better about that, but also connect with some people that may know where their kid is.
Mm-hmm. Well, as an addict, you don't think of that ripple effect. It's like dropping that pebble in the water, and that ripple effect that goes out. Like my addiction affected everybody all the way down to the bread man.
Yeah.
Like if you think about it, and I didn't think about that because I didn't have any clarity
Sure.
at that time in my life, And once I got some clarity, I started taking a look at it, with some great counselors in my life, and I started realizing that ripple effect, how far it went.
Yeah.
From the local people in my life, my family and my kids and, the people at the store or wherever, or the law enforcement agencies, the courts, parole and probation, DHS, like there was just so much that I didn't realize. It's like, geez,
Yeah, definitely a lot of resources, and there's folks that we can pull up that have 100+ mugshots and that kind of stuff, and the amount of resources we call one of them the $1 million man, because that's probably what's been spent on him by the county over time, or at least the state of Oregon as a whole over time. But still hope for him, in my opinion. There's a little bit of hope for everybody. And I think a lot of that in people not contacting their family is shame when they're living that life. Sometimes it's ego. Sometimes it's, I'm the best drug dealer in the world and I don't need you anymore, until you find out I could get you killed.
And that shame piece, man, that will carry with you for a long time, even after you get clean. I was so embarrassed and humiliated, with myself.
Justin, you have quite an honor and recognition that is being bestowed upon you on a nomination. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
So I was nominated as one of the top 10 emerging leaders of Jackson County. So that's through Youth 715 Ministries. So the goal for this nomination is a fundraiser piece. So they are $152,000 roughly short on completing the firehouse.
Yeah.
So I pledged to potentially fundraise $5,000, hopefully more, as my portion to help fundraise. So the firehouse, they will have, let's see, La Familia, which will be building bikes and building skills. And
I'm on the board of that organization, as is my wife. And family, you need a bike builders with Rico. And they mentor a lot of kids that are in hard living situations or living in hard hoods. And that firehouse is going to be a great thing for kids. And when you look at crime maps, the Liberty District has more crimes than anywhere else. So those are things that kids are getting exposed to in that hood. Beautiful thing. The emerging leaders thing, I've watched it for a long time. And that's an incredible honor to be nominated for that. They're basically picking you out of what they think are the top 10 folks that are doing great things in the community right now.
Yeah, it's definitely an honor. I don't know what to say. I want to thank Laura Cromwell. She nominated me.
Yeah.
So that in itself is very humbling. To have a person at that stature nominate you. So the firehouse is going to offer opportunities for people to do life art. So there's going to be a life art. I think it's Phil Ortega that's going to be doing that.
And boxing.
And then there's going to be Troy Wachowski with Spartan Boxing. So it's definitely going to be an amazing resource for our youngins, here in our community. It's a lot better than them out using drugs or getting into gangs or whatever. They might have that situation at home that they want to escape. I know for me as a kid, we used to have the shack. I don't know if anybody remembers that. I'm pretty old, but it was over there by Jackson School, and that was my escape. I loved going there as a kid and playing video games and playing pool. And I remember that teen center. Still to this day, we just found my ID. My wife had my shack ID in her purse. I was like, I was 12, I think. And, so those memories carry with you for the rest of your life. And this is an opportunity for this generation to have that, And I talked to Pastor Kenny, and he said that they're going to be serving kids from I think, kindergarten, so around 7, 8, all the way up to 18, 19, and help them find a trade, find a niche, And then also 715 has a a small engine shop to where they build small engines and repair them. So there's definitely
mentoring program. They do an incredible amount of stuff. That used to be Youth for Christ, and and my wife and I did teen mentoring hats, help a teen succeed, where we got to spend time once a week at least with some kids that needed a mentor, needed somebody to bounce ideas off of, needed somebody to just go have fun with. Sometimes I just took a kid 4-buying or something like that, or something they didn't normally get to do. Makes a huge impact. How's it feel to have a judge nominate you and cops that consider you a friend? You've been a long way, baby.
It's definitely weird for me. You know, like when I grew up as a kid, I wasn't allowed to associate, I guess, with that realm. So like I've totally flipped a script on my life, you know, and I've changed the trajectory of which my life would have went down if I would have stayed on that path, you know, and I've taken it to another level and become an asset to my community instead of a burden, you know, and I'm very honored. Laura would nominate me, and I get to work with the Livability Team, and I get to work for Rogue Retreat, and I get to help my community on so many different levels, you know, so it's definitely very humbling, So
we'll link to it in the post that we do with this video, and on YouTube as well, Facebook and YouTube, and you'll be able to go vote for Justin. Let's give him that shot too. It would be awesome.
Yeah.
And I know you were talking about donating to you for the $5,000 fundraiser.
Right.
How would people go about doing that?
So there's different options. Either you can do a handwritten donation. I have handwritten slips, or you can just donate electronically through the website. The link that is on my page, or you guys can just share that link.
Yeah, we'll link to it.
Yeah,
For
we'll
sure.
link to it.
And you can either do $50, $500, you know, and I just found out yesterday. So the higher you go, say if it's past $500, you get a plaque on the wall with your name on it saying that you were a donor. So they'll have a donor wall with plaques and
I got to tour this fire station, and it is cool. It no longer looks like a fire station. It looks like a fire station from the outside, the shape only. But the roll-up door, that's going to lead to kids building bicycles and stuff like that, and some of the other things that were used as barracks for firemen and whatnot are offices and places where kids can go do art and stuff. It's going to be a cool resource for the community for sure.
Right.
And then separately from that, if people want to donate to Rogue Retreat and help the next camp get off the ground, or help you guys with resources for getting people off the trail, getting people off the street, getting them to some kind of resource and having a safe place to live, they would go to your website. Is that a good way to do that?
So I don't work in that part of it, but I believe there is a link on our website, probably on our Facebook page.
I will find that stuff, and it will also be linked in the post.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You can mail in donations to 711 East Main, number 25.
There you go.
You know, or you can call 541-499-0880 and just talk to the receptionist and see if she could help you. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, I think we will wrap it up now, and we're probably going to do this as part of a 2-part series. It's fun to get to know how things are working, and things are really up and coming for folks that want to have a better life. Get to know Rogue Retreat, get to know the Medford Livability Team, and if you get the opportunity to get to know Liz and Justin, your lives are going to be better for it. So thank you very much for being our visitors.
I would also
Thank
like
you.
to say thank you for helping this community in the way that both of you have. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in to the Scanner Group Crowdsourced Crime and Safety Podcast with Ryan Mallory and Jared Bannery from ThiefHunter Labs. Make sure to subscribe today for notifications about the next show. Visit us at www.thiefhunterlabs.com or on Facebook as Thief Hunter Labs in the search bar.